All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're unpacking something that might sound a little dry at first, but it's actually this incredibly fascinating piece of sustainability engineering. We're demystifying the SASB RST 130A.1 energy metric. Now, fun fact for you, it takes an absolutely massive amount of energy to make solar panels. I mean, we're talking about melting raw silicon at around 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit just to forge those initial wafers. So if you've ever wondered how the biggest players in solar tech actually prove their climate claims, especially with such energy-heavy manufacturing, you're in exactly the right place. It's a really great question, right? Because there's a huge difference between a glossy PR brochure claiming 100% green energy and the actual strict mathematical reality of SASB accounting rules. You can't just, slap a green leaf icon on your annual report and call it a day, or use these vague, optimistic estimates about your carbon footprint. You actually have to prove your energy consumption mathematically. It's got to be airtight. So in this explainer, we're going to see exactly how that's done by looking at the specific metric that standardizes this whole industry. Here is our blueprint for today. 1. The energy accounting stakes. 2. Decoding metric RRST 130A.1. 3. Step 1, gigajoule conversion. 4. Step 2, grid electricity. 5. Step 3, renewable energy. And finally, 6. Strict rules covering PPAs and GOs. Section 1. The energy accounting stakes. Why accurate energy reporting matters in solar manufacturing. Okay, so let's dive into this. Why focus on strict energy management specifically for the solar tech sector? Well, as we just touched on, making solar panels is incredibly power hungry. You literally have to consume a vast amount of energy today to build the tools that will harvest clean energy tomorrow. And that brings us to the regulatory landscape we're operating in, where the International Sustainability Standards Board, or ISSB, now oversees these SASB standards. Because solar manufacturing uses so much electricity, it makes up a huge chunk of total production costs. So accurately reporting these energy sources, it's not just some feel-good environmental exercise, it's a really critical business strategy. It's exactly how companies manage rising energy costs and navigate all that regulatory uncertainty around fossil fuels. Getting the accounting right keeps production lines efficient and prices competitive in a super fierce global market. Section 2, Decoding Metric RRST 130A.1, the anatomy of an energy metric. We're going to treat this specific metric almost like a biological specimen, dissecting it to understand its core components. The really crucial point here is this rule of 3. The SASB standard requires reporting entities to break their energy down into 3 exact buckets for absolute transparency. Step 1, your total energy consumed, which is measured universally in gigajoules, or GJ. Step 2, the percentage of that total energy coming from the standard grid. And Step 3, the percentage that is strictly, legally renewable. This framework leaves absolutely no room for ambiguity. It is the absolute backbone of our energy accounting dashboard. Section 3, Step 1, gigajoule conversion. Establishing the baseline data. So let's start building that dashboard by establishing our baseline data in gigajoules. The scope here is total and uncompromising. It includes energy from all sources directly consumed during the reporting period. That means everything you purchase externally from a utility, plus whatever you generate on site. Every drop of fuel, every single jolt of electricity has to be accounted for. Now, looking at our conversion dashboard, you can see how we unify those different types of energy. If your raw input is purchased electricity measured in kilowatt hours, you just apply a consistent conversion factor to get your total output in gigajoules. But take a look at the specific rule for direct fuel usage, which includes things like biofuels. SASB explicitly requires using higher heating values, or HHV. That basically measures the absolute maximum heat energy you can get from burning that fuel, including the energy from water vapor condensation. You can't just guess or use industry averages here. You have to use exact measured values from your facility or refer directly to Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change Standards. It's all about total mathematical standardization across the industry. Section 4, Step 2, Grid Electricity. Calculating your reliance on the standard grid. Once we've successfully locked in our total gigajoules, we move to the second component, calculating exactly how much of your operation relies on the standard electrical grid. For anyone putting together these corporate sustainability reports, the math in this step is beautifully straightforward. Your grid percentage is simply your purchased grid electricity divided by the total energy consumption we just calculated back in Step 1. It's a really simple fraction, but it powerfully exposes exactly how tethered a manufacturer is to standard, potentially fossil-heavy municipal power. It's kind of like a metric of vulnerability, just as much as it is a metric of consumption. The higher this number is, the more exposed the company is to volatile utility rates and regional carbon emissions. Section 5, Step 3, Renewable Energy, the most heavily regulated component of the dashboard. Now we hit Step 3, the percentage of renewable energy. And wow, this is where the stakes get incredibly high. It is by far the most heavily scrutinized part of the dashboard. Honestly, it's the exact area where companies most frequently make critical compliance errors simply by misunderstanding the rules. The standard strictly defines eligible sources as those that replenish faster than they deplete. So, geothermal, wind, solar, hydro, and biomass. But notice that absolute restriction on the non-eligible side. This is critical. You absolutely cannot count the renewable portion of the standard local grid mix that's outside your control. Like, if your municipal utility grid happens to be 20% wind-powered by default, you do not get to claim that 20% in your corporate renewable percentage. No way. You only get credit for the renewables you deliberately source, pay for, or generate yourself. Section 6. Strict rules, PPAs, and GOs, proving your renewable claims legally. That whole concept of deliberate sourcing brings us right into the strict legal boundaries for proving your eligible renewable energy claims. In this realm, the paper trail matters just as much as the power lines. Notice how SASB completely closes the loop on double counting here. Let's say you generate solar power directly on your manufacturing site. To claim that energy as renewable on your dashboard, you have to legally retain and retire the underlying environmental attributes, specifically the renewable energy certificates, or RECs, and guarantees of origin, or GOs. Since energy markets let you unbundle the physical electricity from its greenness, you technically could sell those certificates to another company for a profit. But if you do that, you forfeit the right to claim that energy yourself. The same thing goes for power purchase agreements, or PPAs, and green power products. Your contract has to explicitly state that those certificates are conveyed to you and retired on your behalf. It's a super simple rule. No certificate, no claim. On top of that, if your deliberately sourced renewable energy mix happens to include biomass, SASB throws another really strict safeguard your way. The materials used have to be certified to a recognized third-party standard, like the Forest Stewardship Council, or fall under the Green E framework. You can't just, sweep up random agricultural waste, burn it in a furnace, and legally call it certified renewable energy on your dashboard. The origin of the fuel is heavily audited to make sure it isn't contributing to deforestation or other ecological harms. So, when you follow all of those strict conversion rules, rightfully exclude the passive grid mix, and legally retain all your certificates, this is what your final metric looks like: a pristine, mathematically sound donut chart. Your total energy in gigajoules sits right there in the center, cleanly and accurately split into your percentage of grid electricity, your legally verified percentage of renewable energy, and any other direct fuels. This is exactly how you prove your decarbonization efforts to cautious investors and regulators. Not even a hint of greenwashing, just pure, verifiable data. I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought. When you look closely at your own corporate supply chain data, or maybe when you evaluate manufacturing companies you want to invest in, is their energy data truly ready to survive this level of strict mathematical scrutiny under the ISSB and SASB standards? Because the rules are incredibly clear, the required math is absolute, and the time for precise, standardized accounting is right now. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope you found this breakdown as fascinating as I did. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.